Ready to roll.
Yeah, I'm good. Oh, we got the sign this week.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. As usual, I'm gonna let you set the tone. Feel pretty good about last week,
Well,
but still a little bit of confusion after the last couple of press conferences. I'm pretty sure you well addressed on this.
Yeah, Nagy. I don't know what ego. Well, I know what it is. But
His feelings are hurt.
yeah, he on some other. Hey, if y'all just tuning in, is the Watch the Game podcast. It's your boy Benjamin Danica, LA Cheatham, and you know what we do? We get here, we talk of Bears football. We are recapping and giving our thoughts and opinions on what we saw when we watched the game when the Chicago Bears took on the Detroit Lions. So, LA, I'm gonna let you go first. I'm gonna let you go. You want me to go first, or you want to go first?
I'm gonna set the tone here.
Okay, all right.
By asking you one question.
All right.
How long did it take for you to figure out that Matt Nagy wasn't calling the plays?
The first series, when I think it was a 12-play drive and Montgomery touched the ball 7 times, I knew Bill Lazor was calling them plays. Just as we outlined it in our episode last week, at the end of the season last year when the Bears got on their little roll and David Montgomery started emerging as a top back in the league, Bill was calling the plays.
I want you to do me a favor. Since I can't do it, I want you to do it. I want you to pat yourself on the back because I believe that we said last week, and we agreed. Well, everybody was talking about Justin Fields, and I understand. We need that good quarterback, trend-setting quarterback in this city. But the thing is, we said it. David Montgomery. This team starts and ends with David Montgomery. Everybody else gets better off the run game.
Yes.
It helps everybody, including Justin Fields. It looked a whole lot more like what he was doing in college.
Exactly. I know Justin ain't throw a touchdown pass. He had one pick. Well, he was 11 out of 17 for 209, I believe. We can work with that. For a rookie, we can work with it.
Look, it's a perfect formula for a rookie quarterback, an athletic quarterback such as Justin Fields, and just bringing him along and letting him get his experience. That looked more like a game plan, more suitable to his skill set. Yeah. And that's all I ask. But unfortunately, we did have some setbacks in that game because David Montgomery did eventually get injured.
Yeah.
But I want to say again, David Montgomery is the biggest piece in this puzzle on the offense. I mean, until we can get more dynamic on the perimeters, which I believe we do have those players. Don't get me wrong. I believe the Bears do have special players with special gifts and speed on offense. But the thing is, the offensive line can't hold up a block long enough to get those guys open. So You have to get things going through the running game. And this is what Bill Lazor was able to expose to us, as we already knew from the end of the season last year. And man, he took play calling went right back to his gadget plays, his Arena Football League plays, and don't work at all. And I really believe if he just continues to just let Bill Lazor call the plays, these guys can save his job because he's saying dumb stuff, and he's making himself look real stupid in the national media.
Yeah, so now it comes down to, does he have the self-awareness to get out of the way and just oversee everything? Like, you don't got to call the plays. You got a capable offensive coordinator that understands what this team is and how this team needs to play to be successful. Can he take himself out of the equation and just be, I guess, the figurehead, so to speak? Like, he just the CEO. I'm just making sure everything is on the right tracks. Can he do that? I don't know. I think ego. Whatever happened that first year that he was here when we went 12-4, he need to get that out of his system because it wasn't you. It was not you. You had a great defense that year.
Every defense.
Yeah, you had a great defense that year. Mitch played above his head that year. It wasn't you. Let it go.
Also, the league hadn't seen his style. Well, him being the head coach, they were not aware of the tendencies.
Yeah.
Of a Matt Nagy head coach football team at that time. And that time we were excited because we had a quarterback we thought could throw the ball down the field. We had a coach that we thought could, get guys open and get us into this new brand of NFL football. But as it turns out, if you go back to that game, the very first game, we kind of saw a glimpse of his whole Bears tenure in that one game.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we had Jordan Howard, he was the key focal point because he was the running game at that time. Yeah. He just did not want to run the football to finish that game against Green Bay back in week 1, back in 2018.
When we was up 20-0.5.
Yes. Yeah. And unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers got knocked out the game. I say unfortunately because you don't want to see anyone get knocked out.
Yeah.
But, they gave him a chance to come back and win the game at the end simply because he wouldn't kill the clock. And I believe that was a sign of things to come with Matt Nagy and his play calling. And even then, after one game, there was some national characters calling him arrogant after that one game. And now it's all playing out. He cannot. He wants the credit, which is I understood. You want the credit. It takes some ego to be a coach. Yeah. It takes you have to have a little bit of an ego to be a head coach. But if you look at Bill Belichick, he has no problem delegating. Here it is. You got a man that's been winning Super Bowls, and he got his guys just calling they calling the game plan. He's overseeing everything. And Matt Nagy, he's just like flip-flop. He hasn't won anything. Right. I think he's gotten too much credit for what's happening in Kansas City, and he's riding that wave. And then people wonder why won't he adjust? At first it was, why won't he adjust his offense to Mitchell Trubisky? And now it's, why wouldn't he adjust his offense to Justin Fields? I've come up to the conclusion is maybe he just don't know how. Maybe he just don't know how to do it because he only knows one way to do things, which is that's not a good attribute as a coach.
Right. And I just, when you look at the successful coaches, like you said, you look at Belichick, and even though Belichick has an ego, right? We seen that kind of Matt Nagy arrogance come out a lot in his assistants that have went on to be head coaches, like what's the offensive coordinator that went to Denver and came back? He the offensive coordinator, not Chase Daniels, but you know who I'm talking about. And then Matt Pritchard, he went to Detroit, and he thought he was going to do the Bill Belichick and so I just don't understand this sense of entitlement that he got. Like, you ain't won nothing. You ain't won a playoff game. You ain't even won a division that first year. You ain't won nothing.
They won the division in 2018, but that goes back on to
the 12-4
that goes back on to Vic Fangio. We already covered that. He got coach of the year. Vic Fangio was the defensive coordinator. The defense was out there scoring points and causing turnovers, putting the offense in good position to make plays and score points. And, at the end of the year, he got all the credit for it. But if he's smart, he would allow Bill Lazor to continue to call these plays so he could possibly get more credit. Because when you're winning, the head coach is going to get credit regardless of who's doing what The head coach and the quarterback is gonna get the credit.
Right.
You know, ride the wave, ride that wave. One other thing, after the game, as exciting as it looked, the potential of Justin Fields was on display on Sunday afternoon.
Right.
And it was set up through the running game of David Montgomery, which we stated. And other things started to develop, which was Darnell Mooney was able to stretch the field.
Career day.
And make big catches. He had, 5 catches for 125 yards. He didn't get in the end zone, but that was just a small sample size of you build off one thing and you can potentially do something else, which is building off the running game, getting into the play action, and then you was able to stretch the field with Darnell Mooney. And then if you just follow the flow and the rhythm of the game, then we were able to see Allen Robinson come underneath, catch some balls, and Cole Kmet maybe had a catch or two. But see, this is the thing. It was all set up off the running game, then Darnell Mooney being able to stretch the field, and then everything in between was able to open up. And I just believe that if you continue to play this way, and now we know David Montgomery's injured. He's out 4 to 5 weeks, is what they're saying. But if you remember, Damian Williams ran hard at the end of that game, and he ended up going down with a thigh bruise.
Right.
But I just believe that the running back room is still good. You got Khalil Herbert, and you got Damian Williams, as they're saying he should be back against the Raiders, which that's another conversation because the Raiders got smacked by the Chargers.
Yeah.
So 28-14, but the running game still has to be on display. And to me, it don't matter who the quarterback is. The running game has to be the primary focus of the rhythm of the offense, because I think everything else opens up behind that. Then Matt Nagy goes out on the limb after everyone's excited about Justin Fields. Everyone's excited about him. And he goes in immediately in the press conference. Everybody trying to get him to say who the starter is for the Raiders game. And he goes out and he says, I think I told you guys that if Andy Dalton is healthy, the most important thing, I think he said the most important thing is we got to know what Andy is. Don't nobody give a damn about Andy right now. And I think he's putting Andy Dalton in a bad situation because he's making him look like the bad guy. I mean, I don't want to say that. I mean, he's just putting him in the middle of a mess. And if he just ride this wave of Justin Fields, and I don't know if he's trying to set up a certain security blanket just in case they got to go back to Andy Dalton, meaning that if Justin Fields starts to struggle at some point and he ends up having to go back to Andy Dalton, he can always come back to say, see, I told you guys, Andy Dalton was the starter when healthy. And I think that's something else we don't need to get too fired up and excited about Matt Nagy going forward, making these comments, because I think it's a little gamesmanship, about not allowing the next opponent to get ready for a certain quarterback. I think
it's some gamesmanship, and I also think that there's probably been some conversations that he had with Andy saying, you the guy. So he's still massaging that relationship instead of completely turning this thing over to Justin. I think it's a lot of that going on. And something you said earlier too, that I wanted to piggyback on, of the running back room. We said this in our preseason show, that we really liked what the running back room looked like. So even though I know we down David Montgomery, he's probably the top 5 back in the league, I don't feel like, oh man, this week versus the Raiders, it's gonna look different because we ain't got our top guy. I think Damian Williams will be serviceable. I would like to see Khalil Herbert get some carries, some attempts, so we can see what he can do, because I really think he's too valuable to be returning kicks on the kickoff. But
interesting that you say that.
Yeah. So I'm glad to see. Well, I'll be glad to see him get some carries this week, some workload, and I don't think it's gonna be that much of a drop off not having David. I think we'll be able to survive this and ride this out as long as Bill is calling the play.
Yeah, Bill's calling the plays. Guys still healthy with the running backs. You remember we say Damien Williams with a thigh bruise, and Khalil Herbert had been returning kickoffs.
Yeah,
kickoff. But they went out and they traded for Jakeem Grant. They went out and traded for Jakeem Grant, another kick returner from Miami, and I believe he's probably going to take on those responsibilities of kick return, because I think now Khalil Herbert is going to have to get more reps on the offensive scheme. And I believe, honestly, I like in the preseason he ran hard. I think he has decent hands, and I think really and truly he should have been. Maybe it's too early to say it, but I think he should have been a part of the offensive scheme anyway. I mean, even with David Montgomery healthy, because I like when you can just beat up on teams with multiple backs, change the pace, guys, just fresh guys coming in back and forth. And I believe that's what the league is now. But I believe he has potential to play well.
Yeah. Like you talking about what the Cowboys doing? They got Zeke. Zeke ain't got the speed burst that he used to have, but then they got Tony Pollard, the second string guy, who got that burst, and they using them interchangeably. So they looking real good right now. But I would like to see what Khalil is going to be able to do once he get his hands on it. I ain't saying he need to get 10, 15 carries, just enough to change the pace to give Damian some.
He might. I mean, because you still got to. I mean, they ran the ball 39 times between David Montgomery and Damien Williams.
Yeah.
For 188 yards, was it?
Yeah. You're right.
Okay. So if you're going into Las Vegas, and I think that's going to be key to going to Las Vegas with a decent running game, because the crowd's going to be pumped up. I mean, that I expect for the crowd to be pumped up. And maybe you're going to have some problems with the snap count, stuff like this. So you're going to have to find a way to quiet the crowd down and settle your offensive line down and just kind of, move along out there in Las Vegas to be able to move the ball and score points.
Now I will say this. I know this is a Bears. We got a Bears outlet and Bears fan. But the Lions definitely did some Lions things to help us out and win that game. They was inside the 10 3 times and came away with no points. So you got to figure versus a good team, they at least gonna cash 2 of those in. Maybe you get a turnover once or something. So I don't know if we lose that game if we playing a good team, but I bring that up to say, if Bill was calling the plays versus Cleveland, how do you think that outcome would have been?
Well, you got to remember that game was close into the fourth quarter.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think that you really had a better shot to win that game, because here it is, you're going up against guys that's pinning their ears back, trying to get to the quarterback with Garrett and what's my man name?
Clowney.
Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney. When you got those two guys just pinning their ears back trying to get sacked, well, that's two guys not even focused on the running game. You can run right by those guys. Right. They never attempted it. I mean, don't get me wrong. They didn't run the ball well early, but running the football is about just staying committed to it, where you can eventually break a team down. And once, as we were watching that game, you saw that, hell, the Browns are having the same problems with the Bears defensive line getting in the backfield. So they were steadily building on the running game, and they ended up breaking us down because the offense couldn't move the football, defense couldn't get off the field long enough, and before you knew it, the running game was tearing them up. They was gashing them. And
the running game and the screen game, they was hitting us with.
Yeah, exactly right. You're exactly right. The screen game, all the stuff that you had in the back of your mind that day, like, damn, why won't the Bears do this? They were doing it. They were showing the Bears exactly what they should be doing with this young quarterback, because Baker Mayfield, I pretty much consider him about to hit his prime, but he ain't fully developed either. So they had to do the things to make him more suitable and protect him as well.
You see, he didn't have a good game this last week. They won 14-7. But the key thing is they won. No, they 3-1.
Exactly right. Just get the dub. As the coaches around the league and Matt Nagy himself, he's been known for saying it's always tough to get a win in this league. And for with it being that tough, you got to be really efficient with your game plan. You got to really your strategy got to work, and your tendencies got to be on point, because each week is hard to get a victory. So that brings me to the point now where before the Detroit game, after the horrible performance in Cleveland, there were a lot of people saying, remember, Detroit had just lost on a record-setting field goal against the Ravens. Played particularly well against the Ravens. But before the Bears game, there were people actually coming out saying they was picking the Lions to win. Okay? But now the Bears go out and look impressive against the Lions, and all of a sudden they the same old Lions again. You can't discredit the victory. I mean, because just the same team that competed against another playoff team the week before and lost at the end. So, just credit the coaching staff of the Bears, Bill Lazor and Sean Desai, doing what they got to do, and just hopefully Matt Nagy can sit back and let them do their job.
Hopefully. I mean, we're 2-2 right now. If Matt Nagy stays out the offensive way, I mean, I can see this team having a shot to make the playoffs. We got 17 games.
The true test for that will be, okay, we got a good test coming up. The schedule's about to be tough. This is why you hate losing David Montgomery for 4 to 5 weeks.
And with that, I hate that we got this alternate schedule. We never got 2 home games back to back. It's just home road all the way through. Yeah,
exactly. And I told you, I checked back and I looked at a lot of the schedules throughout the league. The Ravens got 4 games, 4 home games, 3 straight home games, and then they got a bye week, and then they got another home game after that. I mean, why would the NFL set up any team the way they set the Bears up is beyond me. I don't know. Maybe that was part of the trade when Justin Fields, when they traded for Justin Fields. Maybe they made a deal with the league, and just the schedule we came up with, home and away, away and home, every other week. Right. It's hard. It's going to be hard for the Bears to get any type of rhythm that way. And that's tough in itself. And you're talking about in the league like the NFL, home and away. That's every week for 17 weeks.
That's hard.
I mean, it'll be rough. Rough. Now, you talk about the quarterback situation. And since Matt Nagy want to continue to push Andy Dalton, I was talking to a friend. He was talking about, if Andy Dalton, if he all of a sudden put Andy Dalton out there to be the quarterback, does that mean that he gonna be the play call? But a lot of people forgot maybe that when Andy Dalton was in Cincinnati, Bill Lazor was calling the plays for him when he was highly successful. So the bottom line is, Bill Lazor needs to be calling the plays no matter who the quarterback is.
Right.
And as long as we do that, we should be fine. Worst case scenario, we develop our young quarterback and we see the potential in that. And then, maybe we can some way, somehow in the draft build around them on the defensive end, because the defense is getting older, which we can talk about our impressive defense. If you will look in the top 10, Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn are 2 guys on the same team in the top 10 in sacks. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah. But I think one is number 6, and I think the other was 4th, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But it's impressive to have 2 guys on the same defense in the top 10 in sacks. That's just production. That's productivity. So now all we got to do is score the points, keep them guys in good situations when they're on the field. And going into this season, I didn't expect the Bears to be a playoff team. I'd take it if I could get it, but I was excited about Justin Fields. And going in, I felt like, okay, when they first named Andy Dalton the starter, I was like, okay, cool, all right, I'm cool with that. But when they opened the season up and they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, I didn't like it because it gave me more like a high school feel. Like, damn, man. But I think that's the pressure that Justin Fields was putting on them in practice. Like, man, y'all got to get me on the field. Mm-hmm. And now that he's on the field, after last week's performance,
it's gonna be hard to get him off. Yeah,
it's gonna be hard to take him off.
Yeah, I think Justin probably gives us a better chance to win just because he's more mobile. He can do some things, 3rd and 9. He can go pick that up with his legs. We saw him do that on Sunday. He picked it up with his legs, and the kid is not afraid of the moment. So, being that he's not afraid of the moment, let him swim. He's not gonna sink. Let him swim and learn. Like, I just think the ceiling is higher letting Justin just keep playing and keep learning versus, okay, Andy healthy now. Let's go put Andy back in there. Like we just said, they probably not a playoff team anyway. With or
without Justin. I mean, either one of them, because everybody talk about the talent pool, but if they just do the things that suit this team, you never know. You never know.
Right.
Two tests. I mean, when we get into the division, we play the Packers, which is always the big game, biggest game of the year for the Bears. Biggest 2 games of the year is the Packers. If you can show me something against the Packers, specifically on the defensive end, because if that defense can play well against the Packers, I do think the Bears can put up points. But it's going to be more based on how the defense can perform, and that's going to lead the way when you run into a team like the Packers. I mean, because Aaron Rodgers he's all world. I mean, Hall of Fame quarterback. There's nothing you can do that he hasn't seen.
And too, kind of what's going to work against us is we play the NFC West this year. We already played the Rams, lost to them. That's probably the best division in football. So, the Cardinals 4-0, the Seahawks won yesterday. The 49ers, they didn't look pretty good except for yesterday. So, we got to deal with that. Plus, we got to deal with the Packers twice. So, that could potentially be 6 losses right there.
And now that you say that, that puts more pressure on you to win every game in your division. Because if you were to lose to the Cardinals or the Seahawks, if you were to lose them games, and if you can somehow pull out a victory against Green Bay, we got one against Detroit, and pull out a couple victories against the Vikings, I think you're setting yourself up for the playoff. So now I think with games you still got Tampa Bay on the schedule. Am I right?
I think we do. Yeah. I think we got to go down
there. You know Brady gonna be pissed off after the way last year's game ended.
Oh, so he gonna come in.
Yeah. He gonna come in and he gonna make sure he know what down and distance it is every play of that game. But go back to what I said. It's that much more important that you win your division games. I don't think they can afford to lose a division game in the NFC North and expect to do anything outside as far as wild card or playoff. I think it's going to be fair to say they got to win every game in the division. They really do. Because when you look at
you at least got to split with the Packers to have a chance. Because we already seen the Packers beat the 49ers on the last second field goal in San Francisco. We lost to the Rams. The division got to play the NFC West. So everybody going to, have their shots and take their licks. But we have to go 1-1 versus the Packers if we got a chance. You got to beat the Lions twice. You got to beat the Vikings twice. If you don't do that, then
I think they got to beat. I think they got room to lose one game in the division. That's it.
And that's why I said you got to split with the Packers. You got to beat Minnesota twice. You got to beat the Lions twice.
I mean, that's if we want to make the playoff.
Yeah.
On the light side, on the fun side, coming off that win, I'm driving through the hood right around the time school lets out. And I seen something so pleasant. I see the little bros running around. They got their backpacks on. They got their Justin Field jerseys on. I say, man, at one point in time, in the history of the Bears fandom, there was a fan base. I don't know if you're familiar with Vince Evans.
That's before my time. Yeah, that's before my time.
Yeah, he was drafted by the Bears. He was a brother drafted by the Bears in 1977 out of USC. Quarterback, well, number 8, Vince Evans. And he was drafted by the Bears back in 1977, like I said, out of USC. And at that time, the bros at that time in this area, my uncle was big on Vince Evans. He loved Vince Evans. But when they got rid of Vince Evans, he kind of like, man, what the hell with the Bears? Now there was a fan base that left with that left when they made that decision. There was a fan base that left with a certain fan base that left when they made that decision. Then you had a fan base when they got to 85. In 85, when they went to the Super Bowl, you had a certain fan base that was pissed off that Mike Ditka didn't allow Walter Payton to score a touchdown in that Super Bowl. So you had another fan base dip out on the Bears. And then I believe, for yourself, number 12, Snack Daddy, you know how he feel about the Bears. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he back with us though. He back with us.
Yeah, but it's all because
he represent who you talking about.
And that's what I'm saying. It's a fan base that has came back. A lot of those people are probably not around anymore. But a few of them guys, they came back, they back because of Justin Fields. Mm-hmm. And I want to say I believe that Matt Nagy understands how big this is for the franchise, for the city, for himself as well. But I don't think he understands the history of the fan base. It's a lot of people that just left the fan base based on them two situations. The Vince Evans experiment and then the Walter Payton not scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And now, for those that's still around, they coming back and they want to see this kid on the field. And that just brings me back to say, when I saw the bros, the little guys running around with their backpacks on, they got their Justin Field jerseys on. We finally got what people think is a quarterback in the city that we can rally behind. And here it is, Matt Nagy playing yo-yo games with us. But I just think it's gamesmanship. I really do.
I hope it is.
I really do think it's gamesmanship. But I just really wanted to touch on that because I didn't know if you was aware of those two situations. This is a special time in Bears history. If Justin Fields can be special, I mean, who gives a damn where they playing at? Arlington Heights, wherever they move to. The Bros gonna be there.
Oh yeah.
The Bros
gonna be there. Yeah, we gonna be there. We gonna be there, and when they build up the bars and the Buffalo Wild Wings outside of the Arlington Heights Stadium, we gonna be there too. So, because
I believe that's gonna happen.
Oh yeah. I believe they're gonna set it up. I don't know if you got a chance to go down to where the Cowboys play in what they play in Fort Worth, Arlington, Texas, where they play. It's like stadium, and then they got restaurant chains out there, hotels, everything. It's just like their own little world out there. They got the baseball stadium right behind it. It's their own, and I'm pretty sure the Bears gonna set theirs up just like that.
It's the new NFL. And I think we touched on that a little bit in the last time we spoke, that, that's the direction the league is going in. And for the Bears not to even own their stadium, I mean, that's unheard of in today's NFL. Throughout sports, period. I mean, who you got the charter franchise in the league, one of the most historic professional franchises in American history, and you don't even own your stadium. You paying rent to play your games. Those days are over with. The days of Wrigley Field, just let us play here and pay rent. That days are over with. You gotta, I think it's all about revenue, parking, restaurants, the whole experience. The whole experience. I mean, they're gonna probably have a museum set up for Bears and just Bear fans and just it's gonna hold a whole different
it's gonna
experience.
be like Wrigleyville. I don't know if you've been up to Wrigleyville since they redid it, and redid the stadium and the area around. The new Bears Stadium will be like that. And my boy, shout out to Jay Hill. Jay Hill thinks the city is eventually gonna cave and give the Bears what they want and make Soldier Field into what the new NFL is.
I would like that too, because I don't think I want to drive all the way out there like that. I mean, that's a hell of a drive. I mean, I looked it up. That's like a 45-minute ride. But see, the biggest thing is, it's a lot of things that comes along with the experience on going to Soldier Field. Back years ago when we went to go see them play the Seahawks, I think that was the Super Bowl season back in 06.
06, yeah.
We went to go see them play the Seahawks. You remember when how far we had to walk just to get from the parking garage to the game? I mean, it was an experience within itself. And I love downtown, don't get me wrong, but hell, when it's cold outside,
it was cold that night.
You just want to get where you're going, But that's another bad experience when it comes to just Soldier Field, and it's the smallest football stadium in the NFL, and I think it's time for the second biggest market, I believe, is Chicago.
Third.
Yeah, second biggest market. It's time for the second biggest market to up their game, and I just think that's what's going to end up happening. You saying that you think the city gonna cave? I would like to see
my boy Jay Hill. That's his hot take on that. Jay Hill, shout out.
I believe that's what he wants to happen.
Yeah,
I believe that's what he wants to happen. But a lot of people are saying the city is landlocked, like it's nowhere to build, nowhere to build things. So, I mean, we'll see. But as we conclude, it's a few things I want to touch on with the player, the defense, some other guys outside of Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack. Roquan Smith and Alec Ogletree. Ogletree is gonna make it hard to bring back Danny Trevathan. I think Danny Trevathan's days may be numbered if he even finished the season out with the Bears, because Ogletree out there raising hell. I think he had
Sunday.
I think he led the team in tackles, and I think Roquan was right behind him. I think Ogletree had 9, and Smith had 8 or something like that, solo tackles. I mean, it's just so many things, man, that this team has potential. And I just wanted to touch on the defensive end of the football. And that's pretty much how I feel about it in a nutshell, Penn. Now we get ready for the Raiders. That's gonna be a 3:00 start.
Yeah.
I have on my 3:00 blue. Okay. I'm done the 3:00 blue. How we gonna go about doing that, I don't know. But it just feels good to be talking about the Bears coming off a victory, something that we predicted, even the way it happened. We said it had to happen exactly the way it did. Running game, and then lo and behold, Darnell Mooney. We had a Darnell Mooney display. We already knew that Justin Fields had the potential and the talent, and I just think hopefully the Bears can build on that.
Yeah. It was a good scheduling break. We got the Lions. Build some confidence. We got a win. Let's take that. We got some momentum. Take that out to Vegas. Cutter Pac-Man. Shout out Cutter Pac-Man. We will have an insider in the city, on the ground. So hopefully we can get some feedback and some reports from him on how. So
you telling me that Cutter is going to the game?
He ain't gonna be at the game, but he will be in Vegas.
He will be in Vegas.
Yeah, he'll be in Vegas.
Which brings me to a conversation me and you got to have off the air.
Okay.
There were some things I forgot all about, and I think you know what I'm talking about. But looking for it. Cutter Pac-Man gonna be out there putting in that work, and let's see if we can work on. I don't know if we're gonna be able to do it. Let's see if we can work on getting him some FaceTime. Getting that gorgeous fish on the air one day.
Yeah. Yeah, we
All
gotta
right.
get Cutter Pac-Man on here. We gotta get Sean on here. We gotta get Deb. It's a lot of guests. Now that we got this thing rolling, we gotta
Yeah, we trying to get it rolling, baby. Going into week 5, the tailor-made boys. There's a lot of things we want to do with this. And with your talents, I couldn't do it without you. And as I pick up on this experience, we getting ready to go into week 5. I gotta holler at you about some things on the other side of this thing. But bear down, getting ready to go to Las Vegas. Cutter Pack, man, we got work for you. Watch the Game podcast, baby.
You already know.